Hello students, in this video I will go through the steps needed to construct an angle bisector. Let's take a look. Alright, so what I'm going to ask you to do is on a sheet of blank paper, I'm going to have you draw yourself an angle. And I want you to draw the angle to some degree looking like this. And I want the size of the angle to be about with respect to what I'm drawing here. So something nice and big, like this, so that we can work with it. Okay, so I want to draw an angle bisector, and we can sort of imagine where that angle bisector is, right? If I place a straight edge going through the vertex of that angle there, it should be somewhere there. The question is, how are we going to construct that? Well, what we can do, again, is we can take our compass and we can work with this somehow. If you notice, if I can somehow maybe get a triangle out of this angle and work with that triangle, we can then maybe find an angle bisector that way. So how are we going to make a triangle out of this angle here? Well, what I'm going to do is we're going to take our compass, we're going to place our pin on the vertex of that angle. You're going to open up the compass to somewhere that's on the side of that angle, and it really doesn't matter where. And what you do is we're going to draw an arc so that it intersects both sides of that angle. Why am I doing that? Well, remember what I had posed to you guys earlier, and that was maybe to find the angle bisector here, maybe perhaps we should be working with a triangle. So by opening up the compass and drawing an arc hitting either side of that angle, what we have essentially created is an isosceles triangle here. So this is really not part of the construction, but I am drawing this line in to demonstrate something to you guys, to really emphasize and drive this idea home. And that is, so these two sides now are going to be congruent. This is actually an isosceles triangle. Can we take a moment and really observe that and feel that and understand that? Because if you do, the next step will make all the sense in the world, right? So right now, this triangle here, actually I'm going to label this. I'm going to call this A, B, and C. So triangle ABC is going to be an isosceles triangle. Both sides are going to be equal in length. Point A is equidistant to point B as it is to point C. Those two lengths are going to be the same. Where have we heard that before? Oh yeah, that's right. That is the perpendicular bisector, right? If you have a point that's equal in distance at either endpoints, that point is going to be a part of the perpendicular bisector. So you know what? This compass setting, which I did not change, right? It's opened up to the length of AB. And it is also open up to the length of AC because both sides are congruent. So what I can do is I'm going to find the other point that's on the other side of this line that is a part of the perpendicular bisector, because if I find a perpendicular bisector, what do we know about perpendicular bisectors in an isosceles triangle? The perpendicular bisector of an isosceles triangle is the angle bisector of that isosceles triangle. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to find the perpendicular bisector to the isosceles triangle, thereby generating the angle bisector for angle A. So I want to place my pin over here, and again, remember, this length right here, that distance is the same as this distance over here. So I'm going to now place my pin here, and I'm going to draw an arc over here. And I'm going to do the same by placing a pin on the other side and draw an arc over here. And the two arcs must intersect. So this point is going to be on the perpendicular bisector. This point is on the perpendicular bisector. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my straight edge and I am going to connect these two. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is the angle bisector. If I take my protractor here and I measure the angle, I can see that the angle measure is roughly 20 degrees. This is roughly 20 degrees here. If I measure the angle going the other way, I can also see that it roughly measures the same. That it's an angle of 20 degrees as well. Okay? So I am at 160 when this is 180, so that is a difference of 20 degrees. So there you have it. That's the angle bisector for you. And again, the way to remember this is you open up the compass, you place your pin on A, open it up to some setting, you draw an arc, thereby creating an isosceles triangle. You place your pin with the same setting on the point of intersection, you make a mark on the other side, and you place the pin on the other side and do the same thing, and you make a mark. This point is going to be on the perpendicular bisector. The perpendicular bisector of an isosceles triangle is, in fact, the angle bisector.